So the other day I came in my bedroom and there was like the stench going on and it smelled like death, and I'm thinking, okay, what's the problem? And then I got to investigating and it was coming from my floor. This spot right here. And the reason it was smelling bad is because this little area of carpet right here is soured. And it is soured because this little vento was leaking out. Yeah, I gotta do something about this. And that's what I'm going to do today.
After 2 years of illness, losing everything, and experiencing homelessness, we found each other and began fighting our way back. Today, we are housed, rebuilding our lives, and starting to prosper. We are on track to buy our forever home in New Mexico for a place where the grass is green, the trees are tall, and new beginnings await. Well, howdy, neighbor. Come on in. Let's sit a spell. So I did this once already, and it didn't work out. My computer crashed. So I'm going to try it again. So in the meantime, while my computer was resetting, I made me some breakfast, and I'm going to show it to you. I didn't record cooking it, but I'm going to show it to you. Right there is wilted greens, eggs and bacon bits with just a little bit of salsa. Now, if I was going to do that the country way, that salsa would be chow chow. Now, I make fresh chow chow. It just cut up onion, cucumber, celery. If you want pepper, I generally don't put pepper in mine because they make me burp. But just your little salad fixings like that, no lettuce or anything, and you make like this little fresh relish. It goes really good on pizza, and it's really good on a sandwich or whatever. But I make that. But now if you did that and you pickled it, it would be chow chow. Now that they do that down in the mountains. Anyway, so I'm going to eat this in a minute, but I'm going to talk to you because this is an episode of today's news. So today, as you saw in the beginning, we discovered that we had a leak from our air conditioner and it soured the carpet, so we have to fix that. I've already cried today because Jamie's sugar is still out of control, and he worries me silly because I can't always control his eating habits, and it's really upsets me. It really upsets me. So I've had one good cry today. And then Jamie had ordered a remote controlled Food Lion 18-wheeler truck toy. He got that in the mail and it didn't work. The remote didn't work. So that's going back to eBay for a refund, and he already knows what next. He collects toys, so he just loves his little Matchbox and all that stuff. So it's that's all good. And so I got a lot of work to do today, but I thought that I would, before we get into that, I'm going to take you with me while I do some of these chores and just let you watch. There's a couple things I want to know. Number one, do you like the music? Like if I make a music video, do you like that, or is it something you could just do without? Because I can make music and just use little bits and pieces of it when need be in my videos, or I can have a whole playlist of just my music that I create. It's a hobby, and I just make it to suit myself. So I've been thinking about a lot of things. Now, while we're living here in New Mexico, I can't share a lot of things with you because it's just like gardening is just not a thing. The moonflowers are still going to go in, but I think I'm going to wait until the 100-degree temps pass, because after this passes a certain time of the year, the monsoons will come, and then things will be a little bit cooler. But if after our move to Pennsylvania, we will be able to share all kinds of stuff with you: gardening, canning, all kinds of country folk stuff that we know how to do, homesteading if you want to call it that. I don't hardly even call it homesteading anymore because it's just everything I learned as a kid. Everything from making pickled eggs to making molasses apple stack cakes. I've been there, I've done it, and I have so much to share. And I've got a lot of stories that I can tell. Some of them are horrific, some of them aren't, but some of them are just funny. But I have a river of stories in my brain that I can share with you. But for today, I'm going to eat my breakfast here, and then I'm going to get up and get to work. Been off for just a little bit. I've been off my game because I had my mesenteric paniculitis acted up. And if you want to know what that is, look it up because you can find it on Google. And it was caused because I was drinking soda because it was hot and we got this ice machine. So I was indulging, and that was a really bad thing. So it throws me into chronic fatigue, and I was having all kinds of issues. So enough of that. We're going to eat our breakfast here, and you just stick around a little while, and you can watch me work, but I'll let you sit in the comfort of your own chair to do it.
She was 14 in a white dress, with a borrowed smile and a heavy chest. He said yes, but had no heart. He saw a new car shine, but she was still a child in his hands. She cooked and cleaned, the rules were tight. She learned to hold her tears through the night. And nobody asked what she wanted then. Day to day she hoped and dreamed. She grew around the broken parts, kept living through it. Eternity it seemed, like winter roots stabbing through her heart. The first two took her years and left her heart alone. The third man saw her truth. He read her silence. He saw her scars. He knew the shape of her far-off stars. When he took her hand, he took it slow, like something holy he could hold. The first two were ghosts in the night, but he stayed true and loves her with all his might. The second one loved from behind the door, half in, half gone, never wanting more. He didn't know love if the truth were told, so left her heart feeling old. A heart buried to the core. Tears fell on the floor as she waited by the door. And nobody asked what she wanted then. Day to day she hoped and dreamed. She grew around the broken parts, kept living through it. Eternity it seemed like.
So that was a job, but I got it done. And I'll do something to keep you from having to listen to the vacuum cleaner and the carpet cleaner hum and roar. And I didn't talk during it because of that, but I would have got all out of breath anyway because of it. But anyhow, got that done. Smells so much better in there now. I just have to let the carpet dry and then replace it. But I'm putting goes 4 blocks under it to raise it up a little bit, and I found a one of those little rectangle plaster cups you use when you do drywall, and it just fits in between those 2 blocks, so that will work. And I just have to check it, let it drain out, and check it real often. I finished my iced coffee from this morning. Now this is a McDonald's cup, but I've been using it for a while. It's not McDonald's coffee. I make my own coffee. So I stick it in the microwave, and I make me a good strong cup of coffee, and I let it cool, and then I sweeten it with monk fruit or whatever it is I've got. And I did put a little sugar-free French vanilla creamer in it. But then I just keep adding ice to it, and it's almost gone. After that, I guess I'll have to make me an iced tea. But whatever. Got that job done. Now I have to figure out what I'm going to do next. And there's so many things to be done, but the house is a matrix right now, so that it's just pick and choose whatever you want. So I'll be back with you in a moment.
So cleaning up this kitchen, even with the dishwasher, is like a 2 or 3 times a day. It's so little it messes easy, and it can look like terrible, and I've just cooked 1 meal, so it's really bad. But gather up a little trash here, we'll clean up the kitchen, and we'll talk a bit. We endure a whole lot living here because we only pay $600 a month. And that $600 a month is half of what you'd pay in most places, and a third of what you'd pay in some places. So, and we also get free cable, free water, and free trash. It has enabled us to get ahead financially a little bit on account of that. And we endure leaky roofs. There's a few other things I just soon not mention. To get that savings, to put it towards moving and saving for all the stuff that you go through when you move. We have a lot of trash, it seems like. But anyway, we'll get all this stuff out of the way and get ready to clean the counters and fill the dishwasher. This dishwasher is a sweet little thing, I'm telling you. A little while ago, Jamie was complaining of being hot. Had him take his shirt off, and I sprayed him down and then fanned him. He thought it was a little cold, but it cooled him off. He's went to lay down, though, because he's feeling a little bit sick on account of whatever, getting too hot. Kitchen work can be the bane of your existence if you're cooking a lot. And you really have to stay on top of it. And I try. And the dishwasher does make it better, but there's one little thing about the dishwasher that's aggravating. So there's one thing, if I could complain about the dishwasher, and it's not the dishwasher's fault, but it does take an hour to wash and an hour to dry. And that 2 hours, it has a small capacity, which was the only fault that anybody found on it when in the reviews when I ordered it. It means that the 2 hours that a load is washing, that's 2 hours that dishes are sitting in the sink waiting to go in if you have 2 loads. Now, the deal is, when I get this flow just right and I can get this house cleaned up a little bit where I'm not such a mess, I hope to use it like 3 times a day every time I cook a meal. Now, you're going to have dogs barking, and I apologize for that, because they just will be. And I got this little teeny tiny stream. That's one of the things we put up with here. I got this little teeny tiny stream of water. There's very little water pressure, but there's one thing worse than that. If the water pressure's turned too high, the main lines burst, and then you're 2 or 3 days without water. So I'm really thankful to have this little teeny stream of hot water. And there's been times in my life that I didn't even have that. I have spent many a year drawing my water out of a well with a bucket. I didn't even have one of them pulley things. I had to put the the bucket on a rope down in the well. And if the bucket's to get the bucket, it'll just sit on top of the water if you don't know how to do it. So you got to take the rope. Now, any of you country folk, I know what I'm talking about when I do this. If you've ever drawn water out of a well the old fashioned way. So you get your bucket and it'll just sit on top of the water and you can see it sitting there, but it ain't going to fill up as long as it's sitting on top of the water. Now, the old wooden buckets, they was heavy enough they would sink. But you have to jerk the rope a little bit until you get that bucket flipping upside down. And once you get it flipped upside down, you let it down in the water and then it just fills right up. And then you got to pull it up the hard way. I didn't have one of them fancy things where you wheel it up. So y'all are probably going to notice the difference and the discrepancy of my accents, because sometimes my accent is purely Midwestern, and sometimes, a lot of times, my country accent comes out. And neither one of them's fake. So this is the deal. My mom and daddy both came from Kentucky, and they come from down there where they talk a whole lot more country than me. So they was more, I don't know, it's a little bit more whiny sounding, a little bit more, how can I say? It was more like, I'm going to go down and see mommy today, like that. And I don't talk quite that country, but all my family was from down there. But my mommy and my daddy and a lot of my aunts and uncles, they went from Kentucky to Cincinnati, and they worked real hard on not sounding like hillbillies. I don't know why, but they did. They worked real hard on not sounding like hillbilly. Now, it takes this long for my water to get hot, but once it starts getting hot, then I just let it fill up my little dish pan here. I always pre-wash my dishes, putting them in the dishwasher. I always have. Some people don't, but I do. So anyway, they worked real hard because I think daddy was 16 and mommy was probably 19 when she went to the city to go to work. They may have come and went some before that, but anyway, they worked real hard not sounding like hillbilly. And a lot of my other aunts and uncles, some on my mom and dad's side, and some on my mom's side, worked hard. And then, this was a long time ago, so some of them had their children there, and then children just naturally picked up on that Midwestern conversation style. But I was around my aunts and uncles and stuff a whole lot. And so as I was around them a whole lot, I picked up on their accent, but also I spent 20 years down in the mountains of Kentucky. So I already had that twang because I would be made fun of at school when I was 10-year-old for talking country. And my mom and daddy didn't talk that way. They worked hard not to. And but it comes and goes with me. Now, every now and then, and I don't know what triggers it in my head, every now and then I sound Midwestern. I think it's when I'm trying to sound smart. And then when I get to talking about country things, it comes out more country. And because I've also spent a lot of years in Alabama, every now and then that long, slow drawl of Alabama gets mixed in with the Kentucky. And then people think I'm from West Virginia, where you got that little bit of a slow drawl, but you also got, it's just mixed up. So whatever I am, whatever colloquial sound I've got at the time, it's all me. Just bear with me. I got an onion here that I had with my breakfast. I need to put that in a bag. And I got my little pan full of hot water here. Maybe I can come over a little closer and you can watch me wash. But I'm not going to be able to get all of this in. Now, this little dishwasher, it's got low capacity, but it does better than you'd think. It actually does do better than you think, and it gets everything so clean. And you just got to be patient because it takes a while for it to do its job.
You know, plastic bowls, a lot of times it is really hard. These bowls right here, I could just use pure, strong dish soap on them and just scrub them and rinse them in good hot water. And I never could get that greasy feel off of them. It just didn't work. But this strips it right off. But a warning to the wise. I don't know where it is. Let me see where I can find it. Have y'all ever used these old fashioned hickory cane? Hickory cane. That's a chair. These old hickory is what they were called. Now this one's lost the old hickory. It's pretty old, and it's been sharpened a lot, so the blades went down a whole lot. But you can't put that in there because we made a mistake and put it in there, and it dried the handle out something fierce, and you don't want that. So I had to oil it up, and you don't want to put strong soap on it because this blade's iron and it sharpens real good. We used to use these when we would kill hogs on the dreaded time when people butchered their own meat. Done that too. I'll spare you the gruesome details. So I try to soak my dishes best I can and just give them a good washing. I don't rinse them, of course. Not going in the dishwasher. But I gotta get these put in here. Now I can be a talker, and it's really quite amazing because I have autism. They used to call it Asperger's, but it's high functioning autism. And when I was a child, I was in a great portion nonverbal, especially if something was stressful or I was scared, which I've always had a tendency to be, as they say in the mountains, scared. Or my grandma used to say, not afeared, but I was more afeared than I was unafeared. I just got this little nervous tick about me. Now, it's funny because if some things I'm not afraid of at all. There's a lion kicks in every now and then. That old sovereign Scotch blood comes out of me, and I can turn into a fearsome thing to behold. But I think that's more when it's like scary things happening or somebody I love's in danger or my adrenaline kicks in. On the other side of it, I'm very timid and I'm easily hurt. Some people say it's pettish, but I really honestly think it's just soft feelings. I do have soft feelings and I cry real easy. So on my videos, especially when I'm doing my daily news thing, I'm going to be crying and laughing, and I got all kinds of emotions in here that just come out at will. But I can be a talker. Yeah, I'm just washing dishes and getting these things in here. This is going to be probably a weird YouTube channel. I know some people like it and some people don't, because I'm just who I am. And what you see is real. There ain't nothing about it that's fakey. I don't really like a plastic cutting board. I like a good big wooden one. Now there's people that thinks that a wooden one is more unsanitary, but it's not, because a wood has a natural antibacterial effect. And the plastic is actually way more porous than did you ever think about it when you try to heat up something like spaghetti or spaghetti sauce in a plastic bowl like the one I showed you just a bit ago, and you can't wash the tomato sauce out of it? Well, that's because plastic is porous and it absorbs all kind of stuff. If it starts smelling rank, you can't get it washed out because it soaks in. And it falls apart and gets in your bloodstream and your brain and everything else. I would love to get away from using plastics and just use glass. But that's one of those things that you do when you ain't on the spot and your life's not stressful, and you can take the time to actually think about it, because I'd have to switch up right now. There's a lot of things I'd like to do. I'd like to start using glass. I'd like to get a bunch of iron. I used to have a whole collection of iron cookware, and you have to keep it seasoned good, but I loved it. I used to have a whole lot of things, but I lost it when I got sick in the head from that sepsis. And I made a whole bunch of bad decisions, but that's all in the past, and it's all forgiven, and I don't think about it. I don't let stuff in the past bother me much no more. I guess that's what 3 years of therapy did for me. And so yeah, so I got that. I could put a little bit more in there. These is already, can't put plastic bottles in there. We reuse these bottles a little bit because we make this thing we call Gator Palm, and it is Gatorade because Jamie has to have electrolytes because of his diabetes. And so we take a sugar-free Gatorade powder. I wonder if that's going to fit in there. It did. Now, when Jamie gets up again, I'll let him do it because you got to pour the water in the top. And all the controls is up here. Now, if I stood on my little step ladder, I could get it, but I can't see them well enough. So I'm just going. I think that purple light's ultraviolet. This is kind of a neat thing because if you get your dishes done and you don't get them out right away, it goes on standby, and ever so often, I don't know why that hose got down in there, ever so often, it'll blow air through and keep everything dry so it doesn't start smelling rancid. And I think that's an ultraviolet light that probably helps with that too. We need to do something with that. So later on, I'll have to wash some of these things up by hand, but I'll do it just a little bit later. And need to put these dishes away. I haven't quite got my dishes. I haven't quite got my dishes put away. I've got some pots and pans here from yesterday that I gotta wash. You know, in Southern Ohio, they'll say wash, a wash rag, and doing my washing. And I do say wash, but every now and then I think it's a little questionable. Now, I've got more cleaning to do, but I think this video might be enough. And I would like to have you like and subscribe, comment if you would, and if you're watching some kind of a short, go to my channel, visit my channel. I'd appreciate you visiting my channel, because my goal here is not to get rich. It ain't going to happen. And my goal here is not to be showing off, because I'm not a show off. My goal here is to share my country understandings and my country lore, and to share our journey of moving from Pennsylvania, or from New Mexico to Pennsylvania. And I want to get back in them Appalachian mountain range. And we're not going back to Kentucky, but we are going to Pennsylvania because I have family there. But I've studied it a lot, and I've learned to really love it. And it would be so wonderful to have 4 seasons. And it gets hot and it's humid there. You know, here it gets hot, but it's dry, so it's a little bit more tolerable. And another thing here, because they ain't no much green grass or anything, it's just all desert, you don't have many bugs. So when you go back east, when you have a night light outside, a lot of times people buy a yellow bulb because it helps a little bit. But you put that night light out, and Lordy mercy, you walk out the door and there's moths and nighttime beetles and everything, gnats and everything in the world swarms you till you get past the light. You don't have that here. You can go outside after dark and the night light on out there, and you won't even see a single gnat.
We go outside, we don't hear no crickets. I think we went out. Jamie called me out one night because he heard cricket. Now, there's people that say that they have crickets, and Jamie's been a few places, but it must be places where there's grass growing and everything. But it's not here. And but anyway, I could just go on like this for hours, but I'm going to say goodbye, and I'll see you on the next time. Y'all come back now, you hear?
Stabbing through her heart. The first two took her years and left her heart alone. The third man saw her truth. He read her silence. He saw her scars. He knew the shape of her far-off stars. When he took her hand, he took it slow, like something holy he could hold. The first two were ghosts in the night, but he stayed true and loves her with all his might. Now the porch screen hums in the evening, every shirt on the line, her books in the chair. She laughs so hard she has to rest, like she's finally happy within her breast. He didn't just love the light she shows, he loves the roots and the floods that overflow. The first two took her years and left her heart alone. The third man saw her truth. He read her silence. He saw her scars. He knew the shape of her far-off stars. When he took her hand, he took it slow, like something holy he could hold. The first two were ghosts in the night, but he stayed true and loves her with all his might.